So I'm gonna be, let's see, gotta figure out how to get the chat going. So we got that there. Here's the chat. All right. So I don't really expect a whole lot of people to be on this. It's very new, but I figured I'd give live streaming a shot. So I'm gonna show you guys. I'm going to be exploring Docker and GitHub. Try to figure it out because it's more of an exploration as opposed to me showing you. So it's going to be me trying to figure it out and get things set up and understood while looking at Docker and GitHub and trying to set up a very simple hello world project. So we'll see how it goes. So I'll go to my file explorer, go to documents, go to workspace, web dev. We'll do, let's just go to Alareta. Let's delete all this. Then we'll go to command, code. Delete everything. Damn, that's a lot of stuff. We have Docker installed. I believe I already have the extension for it here. Yeah, alright, we already got that. So, I gotta figure out a way to get the I want to see the chat right here from OBS. Tools, help. What is this? Studio mode. That's not it. View, docs, reset UI. Okay. View, docs, scenes, audio mixer, stats. Don't need that. View, docs. Tools. Sorry, this is not the greatest start, but I am pretty new to all this. I'm sure things will come along a little better. It's strange, and I did this on Twitch. It allowed me to see the comments right here. Output. Advanced. No, it's not gonna be here. So what, do I have to keep this open in order to see the chat? That doesn't make any sense. Pop out chat. We got that. Alright, we have chat. That's good. So I'll check this occasionally and see what's up. But for now, we're just gonna take a look at this. So, all right, we're gonna do a simple hello world server. So let's go to express hello world. And then we'll just do that. We'll do npm init. All right, we'll just do all this. Yes, it's all okay. Package.json, which is what we want. Do index.js. We'll have this all done. And we'll do load index.js. Module not found. We need to install Express. Alright, we'll install that, then we'll run it, make sure it works. So we'll go to this. Alright, so we have our hello world. So now we're going to explore getting this up on a repo and on Docker. So let's go through, let's go to GitHub. Alright, so I already have an account, Dav and Alareta, and let's see, my repositories. Let's make a new repository. Repository name. What is this? Alareta. So we'll call this hello world server. Description. Simple. Hello world. Public. We'll have this. We do want a git ignore. We're going to git ignore the node modules. We'll do a license. We'll do the GNU version 2. Why not? Alright, so we have this. We have a license and a README. So you should be able to see this. So yeah, there's no chat, so I'll make sure this is going. Hello everyone. Welcome to Alareta Starware. Alright, so I have this. We'll clone, use git or check out with svn. Alright, so now it's the fun part. So, alright, we'll get out of here. Do I have git installed? I think I do. Git -- help. Alright, we have it installed. Clone a repo into a new directory. Clone. So we'll do this. Alright, how about we should just delete everything here. I know, we're deleting a lot of stuff. So we know that this index works. But for now we just let's delete all this. Actually, it's going to clone into the directory that we care about. And so let's go to web dev. Well, we'll keep it in Alareta. In fact, we should rename this to Alareta Starware. Oh, of course I'm using it. Try again. try again. All right. Git. Pro-Git. All right. Oh, where did it go? I'll always use this app. Do I want to use this, or do I just want to just try to clone? Getting a Git repository, cloning existing. All right, so we'll just clone the URL. So we'll do git clone. I believe I already have it copied. Yes, I do. All right, so we have that. All right, so we've just cloned from the repo in GitHub into our Hello World server. We have a license, we have .git, and we have a README. We'll call this. All right, it's coming up. Well, let's open the whole folder. All right, we got the license and the README. I know I have Docker installed. So let's do a git. I'm sorry, an npm init. And see. Yes, I should always do -s for this. All right, so we have something here, untracked is what the U means. All right, and here, oh, it already has it. Nice. It already knows we're in a repo. Oh, I guess it's in the .git file. Let's take a look at the .git file or .git folder. So let's see. So it must know package.json must have figured it out from here. So I suppose if you go back in the stream, you'll notice that you didn't have all this. You didn't have repository or URL or whatever. And it must have looked into the npm init must have looked into .git folder and understood that this is all the information associated with the repo, which is nice. Let's check this out. Can I see all of the... How do I show hidden folders? Settings, hidden. Hidden folder. Also, I gotta check the stream again to make sure, because I have my desktop in night mode right now, and I want to make sure. Alright, if I go back to the YouTube, to my stream, and I look at this and I turn off night mode, I wonder, turn off now. Okay, so it's not in night mode on the stream, which is good. Yeah, we don't want it in night mode on the stream, but I don't want to Don't want to mess up my eyes. All right. I don't know how to show hidden folders here, but regardless, man, that's completely unintelligible. Description? Unnamed. Somehow it figures it out from this .git. Anyway, we'll forget that for now. But somehow package.json has figured it out from the .git folder that this belongs to the repository of Hello World Server. Okay, so we have this untracked. Now let's figure out how to track it. Alright, so we're at untracked right now. And we want to stage it. Let's look at git status. See what that does. Untracked files. Package.json. See that? On branch main, your branch is up to date. Untracked, we'll add it. Yes, we want to add package.json. So we'll do git add package.json. LF will be replaced by CRLF in there. Okay. All right. All right, so if you added that, let's check the chat. Nobody. All right, so we've added it. So what that means is that when we say git add, so you see, in order to begin tracking, so git add means that it's added to what we're tracking, but it doesn't mean that it's actually committed to the repo. Right, so we did git add our package.json. So if we do git status now, we'll see that we have a new file added, but they are changes to be committed, right? And if we want to undo what we did, we can use this command git restore to unstage, but we don't wish to unstage package.json. We want this to be available because eventually we're going to be putting all this in a Docker container, right? But I just want to be able to track it all. All right, so git status on branch master, change to be committed, blah, blah, blah. So, okay, you can tell it's to be committed because it's under there. Also in Visual Studio Code, you see an A here, it means added. Also, if we wanted to use git to initialize everything, we could have done git init and somehow pushed it to GitHub, I believe, but we just did it on GitHub, then we cloned it. So we didn't do a git init, we did a git clone and then a git add. So, all right, let's change a file that was already tracked. So yeah, we'll change the README. We'll say, this is a simple hello world server to test and explore GitHub and Docker. All right, so now we know. So all right, we've modified. So before we had an untracked file that we staged and we added to the repo. So here, the repo, it doesn't have package.json, but it already had readme.md because we created it with the, oh man, I clicked the wrong thing. We already created it with the readme and the license. And we don't want to change the license because then lawyers are involved. But we changed this, and now we're going to figure out how to stage modified files, which is different, I suppose, than tracking untracked files. But it seems that we just use the same git add command. Let's do git status and see what happened. All right, so it says modified instead of untracked. So we're going to git add readme.md. That should work. We'll do git status, and we have these changes to be committed. So this, if we reload, still have modified. Suppose it does say it's modified, but I guess it doesn't change color or something. I don't know. So git status, we have new file and modified. All right. So here it's just telling you that if you, let's say we change this again. Let's say we want to say, let's describe let's use, so this was like the purpose of it, right? This will be the description of what it does. Sets up a simple express plus node.js server that spits out hello world. All right, so we'll do git status. So you'll see this is what this is alluding to right now. We've modified this, but we have also, so we already have changes committed with the README, but we also have changes that are not staged for commit in the README. And it's in fact these two lines that, because I have wrap text, so that's why line 7 is just on both. It seems like it's on 2 lines when it's actually on 1. But we have 2 lines here that weren't in the initial commit, or it wasn't in the initial add of README, but now we're going to add it again, because what we staged to be committed was this before, and now we need to restage. We need to re-add it if we want to store or add this subsequent change that we made after the fact. So we can do that. And we'll see that this updates, this goes away, but as you'll notice, this still is not changed, right? We haven't actually committed. We've only staged things for commits. All right. Ignoring. All right, git diff. Let's see what this does. Oh, it does a whole lot of nothing. I think it's already being done here, where it says, I don't know. I don't know why git diff. Oh, I know why, because we don't have any differences. Let's say this is a difference. Let's see what happens. Yeah. So git diff only works when you have things or differences. Git diff only shows differences when it's a difference between what is staged to be committed and what is not. And this difference is, so that we'll call this is an unstaged difference, right? And if we stage it, this is a staged difference, so we'll do git add read me git I'm in caps lock, git diff, nothing. We don't get the stage difference. So if we get rid of this, we'll see we have this red arrow, meaning we've deleted something, and git diff will tell us that we deleted something. But we could also git restore file to discard changes. So let's see what happens if we do git restore readme. It goes back to the staged. All right. So get rid of this. So restore brings everything back to what it was staged as before. All right, we'll do git add read me, and now that little error should go away because the difference of the subtraction is staged now, and there's no stage differences at all. All right, committing the change. All right, we want to commit these changes. So do git commit. Let's see what happens. All right, so I've set it up with Visual Studio Code to that the commit message would open automatically in Visual Studio Code, but it opens up in your editor of choice if you use git config -- global core.editor. And in this pro git book, they use Vim, so that's why you see Vim here. But oh shoot, it means to underline all that. I don't want to underline this. That's why you see Vim here, but Visual Studio Code here. All right, I don't know. Line starting with hash will be ignored and an empty message aborts the commit. So we do want a message because we don't want to abort. We want, we'll just call this update readme and npm init. All right, now how? All right, I want to be done. So if I close this, all right, so I committed. Let's see what happens here. Did it come here? No, it didn't. I wonder why. Believe I need to do a pull request, maybe. But here you see it's done, right? Here we don't have any unmarked or modified, so git status will show us nothing. All right, here you go. See, git status is a lifesaver. On branch main, your branch is ahead of origin main by 1 commit. Use git push to publish your local commits. So it also says nothing to commit, working tree clean, and that explains why we don't see any letters here, because we've already committed. And so now we've committed on the local machine, so now let's push to GitHub. All right. Do I have a personal access token? Man. Well, I don't want to accidentally show my personal access token, so I'm going to do this in browser. Okay, so it should be done. I should have authorized it. That was using OAuth probably, which is neat. I want to learn that. And now we've pushed our updates. So this, well, we've pushed our second commit. You see, now we have 2 commits and we did it all from here. So all in all, I believe the main thing to learn is that git status gives you some really nice hints, right? And that's pretty much all you need to know about Git, or at least I need to know about Git for now. Well, okay, there is more stuff. So let's say let's learn about git ignore now, because that's going to be important. Because we're going to, okay, so let's say we do npm install, what was it, Express. We need to install Express. So we're going to install Express, right? And we're gonna have all these node modules, right? And you know, we want to keep this package lock, I believe. But you know, we don't need all these node modules because that's going to be installed. It's already told by package.json. All right, so imagine that we didn't have the node modules and we just had these four, right? We just downloaded these four from the repo and we didn't have anything previously. What we would prefer to do is we just say npm install in this directory with these four, and when we let package.json handle pulling from the npm repository all these node modules. We don't need to upload these node modules to GitHub at all. So we don't want these to be staged, right? Because right now they're unstaged, but we don't want this. We don't even want Git to be aware of these, right? We don't want Git to stage this at all. We don't even want Git to know that these are here, because what if we accidentally stage it? Because if we were to use GitHub Desktop, it would automatically add all of these. It doesn't break it up into stage, then commit. If there's a change in GitHub Desktop, then it automatically stages it to be committed. So we don't want any of that. We just want this to be ignored. So let's look up ignore. We want Control F, ignore. Blah, 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 blah. Git ignore. GitHub API. Blah, 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 blah. I want to find git ignore. Oh, here you go. Also, if you do a git clean, right, and you don't have to git ignore, it will get rid of all these node modules. Let's try that. I think that would be a good clean.require force defaults to true. All right, git clean -f. So what happened? Oh, it only does it in the working directory. Doesn't do it recursive. Can you do a git clean? So it would have to be git clean -f-d, and then it gets rid of everything that's recursively. So you see, if we had a git ignore, that wouldn't happen. When we clean everything out, it ignores that as well. So in case, but maybe you might have a temporary file that you want to be cleaned up when you know you press git clean, but you want things to be ignored by Git, right? So it's not just about pushing to the server, to the repo, it's also about local maintenance as well. There are some things that it's just better to have git ignore, and that's where this git ignore would come in, if I can find it. Git ignore, git ignore. Dot git ignore 345. Ignoring files. All right, here we go. So let's npm install Express again. Now that we've mistakenly gotten rid of it. Not mistakenly, but educational purposes. Add or even show as being untracked. These are generally automatically generated files, such as log files or files produced by your build system. In such cases, you can create a file listing patterns to match them named git ignore. So let's create this file, git ignore, the .git ignore. All right. So how do I ignore a directory? The rules for the patterns you can put in the git ignore are as follows. You can start patterns with a / to avoid recursivity. You can end patterns. Well, we don't really want a pattern, we just want to ignore this. Ignore all .a files. Only ignore the to-do file. Ignore all files in any directory named build. Alright, let's see what happens if we do /node modules. Alright, git status. Only ignore the to-do file in the current directory, not subdirectory /to-do. Oh, so this says only ignore it if it's in the current directory. So let's say we have another directory where it says temp, and then we have another thing named node modules. So you see this gray is it means it's ignored. So here, if we do should not be ignored text. Yeah, you see, because we did this / this should not be ignored is not going to be ignored because this avoids recursivity. But if we do this, then it does get ignored. Right, so this git ignore node modules will ignore all files and directories called node modules throughout the whole recursive file system, starting where this .git ignore is. So it goes through all directories and ignores node module, and which should be the case, right? We don't, let's say we I don't know, let's say we had another folder in here where we said, okay, we're going to init some other project inside of this. Let's say we have like a React project inside of a public folder in our Hello World server, and that's going to have node modules, but we don't want those node modules going to Git, right? So we would want to ignore all node modules. So we'll leave it like that. And we'll get rid of this. Alright, so we're ignoring all node modules throughout the whole directory structure, where this is the root, where the directory that the git ignore is in is the root. Alright, so let's do git status. Git add. So nothing specified. Let's do git add dot. So I believe that pretty much adds everything, right? This was untracked, now it's added. This was untracked, now it's added. And this should, the modification should be staged to be committed. So let's do git status, and yep, we have everything is staged to be committed. We'll do git commit. we're going to put in added, we added git ignore and installed and npm I express. All right, so that's that. And we know that this, so let's check this out. I don't see anybody. So this shouldn't have the commit yet. We still only have 2 commits. We go here, we'll do git push. Bam. Now this should be, you should have the 3rd commit. Yep. All right, and you'll see you don't have the node modules here. You just have to git ignore. And the new package lock.json. All right. So now let's actually add the, so I think we're done with this now. No, I did not want to save changes. Now let's do the express hello world. Turn this on, why not? All right, so now we'll have the index.js. We have this, and no ESLint. I would like to put ESLint in, but it's not truly worth it for this, I don't think. Maybe I'll do it later at some point. So all right, we have an untracked index. Let's make sure it works. Node index, localhost 3000, hello world. All right, so that works. Let's do git add dot to add everything. Git commit. Add index.js. So now that's there. Should go away. Yeah, it does. Now it's been committed, so there's nothing to be tracked there. And it's not here. But if we do git push, then it should show up here. All right. So we have this simple server. It has version control with Git. We have it on our GitHub repo, but now we want to containerize it. We want to put this into a Docker container. And really what that means is that, you know, here, when we installed Express, we installed it on the whole, well really, we installed it in this directory, right? But what if we want to, you know, I was saying that when we were installing it, we wanted to make sure that this was ignored, and that when we added it to GitHub, that when people clone the repo, that they would npm install, so that they would get these node modules, which is pretty much Express as its dependency. So what if we wanted to do the same thing, but with a whole virtual machine, sort of like a light virtual machine? So not only do we containerize what's necessary for this app in terms of npm, right, the direct dependencies in terms of Express, but what if we want to just send this over as a mini virtual machine with Node already pre-installed and Express already pre-installed, and you can just take this little virtual machine, this little containerized virtual machine, just install it onto a little private playground in your computer and just run it. And this is what Docker is for. And this is what makes it really easy to upload to an external server. Let's say DigitalOcean. You can deploy there. It makes it easy because you've containerized everything that you need in a dependency, and you have, let's say, your own little mini OS, not OS. You have your own little, well, I guess, yeah, OS. Your little own virtual machine with its own OS on it that's containerized, and you can just, it's all independent of everything that's going on here, right? Because I didn't have to install Node.js for this to work. I already had it on my machine. But when you're deploying to an external server, to a hosting platform, they don't have Node.js already installed. So the container, the Docker container, will have it already installed. It will have a light virtual machine with Node, with whatever you tell it to be installed, like Node.js and Express and all of this. So you can give it commands to download, let's say, from a repo, and then install all of these things that you need, and then it just goes. So it's not the best way to describe it. I think you'd probably be good to go find a tutorial. I mean, this should have all the information you need, but I don't know. I'm going to be exploring Docker because I sort of knew GitHub and Git to some extent, right? But Docker is definitely going to be somewhat near to ground. And what I want to do is I want to containerize all this. I want to containerize the dependencies, including Node.js, and have it all containerized in Docker to be able to deploy real easily on DigitalOcean. So that's going to be the ultimate goal. So let's see how the stream is doing first before we move on to Docker. It's going, it's 48 minutes. No viewers, no likes. I don't know what this playback is. Concurrent viewers, none, all the way through. Good. That's exactly what I expected. Yeah, it's hard to get viewers just starting out. And this is the first stream of the channel, right? And I didn't even try to make it palatable or eye-catchy, but I just want to sort of work on this stuff. So, all right, let's go to Docker. Now I'm going to need tutorial stuff. Oh, there's night mode. Cool. Docker. All right. We'll go to docs. Get started. Welcome. I'm also going to get a little bit of water right now, so I'll be back. All right. All right, so we got that. All right, so getting started. All right, I believe I have Docker Desktop already installed. Yes, I do. But of course, you can do everything from the command line, but let's open this up just to see. All right. So I'm Alareta on Docker. On GitHub I'm Davin-Alareta, so you gotta forgive the inconsistency. But we're gonna skip this. So what this is saying is that, you know, if you go to Docker, I already have it installed, so we'll go to Docker. We're in the Hello World server thing, but let's get out of here because this is just Docker. We'll make directory Docker just getting started. cd Docker getting started, and we'll do the Docker run -d. Says here runs the container in detached mode in the background. -p says it maps port 80 of the host to port 80 in the container. So we'll map port 80 in the host. So this machine's port 80 to port 80 of the container. So the container is just going to forward, well, the container is going to forward whatever goes to its port 80 to this local host, the actual machine's port 80. And then we're going to go to Docker/getting started. So this is going to be an image to use. Let's see what happens. So let's see what happens when we go to localhost. Right, it should go to port 80, which is the default port when you're going on your browser. Yeah, so you get a tutorial. You get the Docker run tutorial. Cool. And it goes to the first. It goes pretty much a copy to this. All right. And we'll do. All right. So we should have whatever this is running, this Docker container. Let's go to the Docker desktop to check it out, because that's where it's telling us to go. We have Brave LS, which is Docker getting started. Cool. And we know it's working because when we go to localhost, we get the tutorial. So what is a container? Simply put, a container is simply another process on your machine that has been isolated from all other processes on the host machine. So, like a virtual machine or a light virtual machine. And it leverages particular things like kernel namespaces and control groups, features that have been in Linux for a long time. And when you install Docker, I believe you have to install the Linux kernel on Windows in order to use these. And I suppose it's Windows's port of the Linux kernel to make it run as though it were like as close to Linux as possible, but on Windows. And this is nice because we want, usually, let's go to DigitalOcean. So DigitalOcean is like a hosting platform, and usually they just use Linux for their droplets, which is what we're going to be, which is what you'd put your whatever service on. So blah blah blah. You see Ubuntu, CentOS, Debian, Fedora, CoreOS, FreeBSD. These are all Unix or Linux. So Docker sort of caught on to that, the tendency for hosting platforms to be hosted on Linux, and so it requires, or it uses Linux, what was it, namespaces and C groups? It really just uses the Linux kernel for its back-end low-level stuff. Alright, so that's a container. It's just another process on the machine, but it uses the Linux kernel. And in Windows' case, you have to install the kernel separately. So what is a container image? So when you're running the container, it uses an isolated file system, right? That's what we were saying here. It's a container, simply another process on your machine that has been isolated from all other processes. And through that isolation, it also has an isolated file system. And this custom file system is provided by a container image. And so what that means is that the container image pretty much decides what that file system is going to consist of inside of your container, which happens to be isolated from everything else on your machine. And since the image contains the container's file system, it must contain everything needed to run an application, all dependencies, configurations, scripts, binaries, etc. That's what I was saying before, is that this isolated process, because it's isolated from everything from my machine, it needs to have its own version of Node installed, its own version of Express installed, its own version even of the code that I've written, because eventually we're going to be putting all this in a Docker container, right? So it's going to need its own version of all that. And why, one might ask why you might want to do that instead of, just porting all of, just porting these little lines of code into, let's say, the DigitalOcean droplet. And the answer is that you have to set up then manually all of the dependencies that this little line, that these, 11 lines of code depend on. You have to set that all up manually in DigitalOcean, and it depends. I mean, we saw DigitalOcean, we saw how it's dependent. You can have multiple OSs. You can have the Debian, you can have Ubuntu, you can have CentOS, right? So you have all these options, and for each one of those distributions, it is likely a slightly different way of setting up the dependencies that these 12 lines of code need. So Docker just says, screw it, we're just going to isolate it on the dev machine. You're going to isolate all this, make sure all the dependencies are met in this isolated process, but only the dependencies needed for this are created and stored in that container. And then we're just going to shove that whole container onto an OS that supports Docker. And in this case, all OSs, I'm going to say all, but all the ones that are significant for our purposes are going to support Docker. Pretty much anything with a Linux kernel is going to be able to support Docker, I think. So now don't take that for gospel, but that's what I think. Anyway, that's the point of Docker, is to have a separate area where you can define what code you need, and you can just define all the dependencies that it needs all in one space, and that doesn't have to change for every different OS that container might run on. So if you can install Docker on an OS, then you can run this container image, no matter what OS it is, and the dependencies are already taken care of. The only thing you got to do is set it up in the dev area. So we'll see how to do that. Alright, for the rest of the tutorial, we will be working with a simple manager that is running in Node. So in our case, it's just going to be our Express server. It's not going to be this sample app. And so we already have the contents, so we don't need to download and extract. So we do have the package.json, and we have our sources. We already have everything we need. All right. In order to build the applications, we need to use a Docker file. A Docker file is simply a text-based script of instructions that is used to create a container image. If you've created Docker files before, you might see a few flaws in the Docker file below, but don't worry, we'll go over them. All right, create a new file, a Docker file, with the following context. It's got no extension, like .txt, no extension. So we'll just create Docker file. All right, it's got one error and it's untracked. All right, so let's. All right, so this is when it's going to get tricky because I am not very well versed in Docker. I sort of know its purpose, but I really don't know how to do like a Docker file, let's say. All right. So from node 12-alpine. All right. All right. So what is this? Is he going to explain? All right. What does this mean? I believe I know what it means, but. All right. So this means that we're getting the. Probably want to use this one. It is designed to be used both as a throwaway container, not your source code. Start the container to start your app as well as the base to build other images off of. Some of these tags may have names like bullseye, blah blah blah, using sweet code names for releases of Debian and indicate which release the image is based on. If your image needs to install any additional packages beyond what comes with the image, you'll likely want to specify one of these explicitly to minimize breakage when there are new releases of Debian. So if we just want to use the de facto node 12 and we have all of these, so we'll just use the latest, which is node 16. So we need to install node, but we also want express. So let's do express. We don't want express gateway, I don't think. We just want well, maybe it is node, and then later on from the package.json we can, when we do npm install, we'll install the express dependency. Okay. So what's the default? Oh, it doesn't matter. Let's just do it from node 16. Right? Supported tags 16, current alpine, blah 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 blah. 12. Is there just a 16? Can I just do from node 16? Yes, I can. I guess 16, so the default must be Buster. So 16 corresponds with Buster. What 14 corresponds with? 14. I guess corresponds with fermium. 12. Erbium. Alright. I think when we install 16, it's going to also install the Buster Debian, the Debian Buster OS. Okay. Alright, so now we know which image we're installing. It's just going to be an image of Node, which is based off of Debian Buster, I believe. Alright, what is this? Run, APK, add, no cache, Python, G++, and make. Why do I need that? Let's go to how to use this image. And we'll replace this with, is that all we need to do? From node 16, expose, port. Replace this with your application's default port. Let's just do 8080 for now. Actually, let's do 80. Let's get rid of this one, so it's not in our face. Might be enough. Let's follow this. Docker build. -t. But the thing is that we want to run npm install run npm install. Right? If I do npm install, what is copy dot? Copy from here to there. What is APK? APK add. So I believe that's just using the Alpine, because in this example, they're using the Alpine image and they're just using their package manager to add Python, G++, and make. Okay. Let's just expose 80 and see what happens. So Docker build -t my Node.js app. Docker build -help. Docker build path URL. Oh, we forgot the dot. So we want to do. I suppose the dot tells you where the Docker file is. Alright, Docker build -t. T means tag, which is going to just be the name of this image. My Node.js app dot. And this image is going to be from here, where this Docker file is. Alright. Alright, Docker run -help. Let's see what this does. So what does I mean? -I means interactive, so that means we can open up the terminal and interact with it. -t allocate a sudo tty, I guess. That's for terminal stuff. --rm. Okay, automatically remove the container when it exits. That's fine. --name. I guess it's the name of the assign the name to the container. Okay. And we should. So we've already built the image of my Node.js. I wonder if it's already. If we can see it on the repo. So Docker repo hub.docker.com. Okay, like GitHub. Alareta getting started. I don't think we. What? How are there 8 downloads? I must have downloaded 8 times, which seems kind of crazy. Oh, maybe it's just 8 days ago was the latest. Alright, so. Okay, if we want to push this image, so let's see, Docker image ls, can we do that? So we have it here, I don't know why it says 7 hours ago, but we have it. Maybe it's because the Node.js one was updated 7 hours ago. The Node repo, this Node 16. Okay. Alright, Docker image ls. So we have my Node.js app. hasn't been pushed there. So we'll do Docker run interactive mode, and then we'll remove when we're done when we exit this image. My Node.js app. Welcome to Node.js version 16. So we're in Node. Exit. Quit. Maybe. Huh. So when we installed, or when we specified Node as the image, when we go into it, we can only have access to Node. Did you see when we were here, it only said welcome to Node. We couldn't go to the underlying OS. So how would we if we run this, what happens when we go to localhost 80? No. This should be unable to connect. Yeah, that's what I figured, because we closed that container. Let's say we do this. What happens if we do this? Cannot find module express, which makes sense because we didn't install it. Do we have access to npm within Node? I don't think so. Yeah. So we don't want to go to tutorial of localhost. We just want to go to localhost and nothing, because of course we don't have anything going on. Okay. So when we go to from, all right, let's check out what from means. From platform, so this is optional. From image. From initializes a new build stage and sets the base image for subsequent instructions. As such, a valid Docker file must start with a from instruction. The image can be any valid image. It's especially easy to start by pulling an image from the public repos. Alright, so yeah, we pulled the Node 16 image. Alright, that's straightforward enough. Then in that image we do a run, which shell form. So this should pretty much, we should be able to run npm from here. So let's try it. So with this run, we can do run npm I express. So now we have to rebuild. Rebuild, because we altered the Docker file. npm I express npm error tracker ideal tree already exists. So let's go Docker run npm install. Run npm install. We'll get rid of this. So that's what we did from nodes. Next, we create a directory to hold the application code inside the image. This will be the working directory for your application. Let's get rid of this. Work directory /source/app. Just remember, we're going to be under Debian, which comes with Node.js and npm already installed. So the next thing we need to do is to install your app dependencies using the npm binary. So I suppose we're going to copy package.json to the working directory. Here we're setting the work directory to /app, but remember this is Alpine, not Debian. And then we're going to copy everything from current directory, which is here, to working directory, which is /app. Here we're copying everything that has package star.json to the working directory. So yes, I will do that. Okay, I think that's that might work. Oh, it worked. So it should install everything from the dependencies that we've listed here, which we've listed express. So let's run it. Let's run this image in interactive mode. And we should now be able to require express, which we can. All right, so if we do this, cost app, yeah, so that works. And we exposed 80 or just 80. We didn't expose anything. All right, we're getting out and then we remove it. So we're going to look out Docker image ls. We created it about a minute ago. Size 913 megabytes, nice. I want to be able to get rid of these. Docker remove image. Docker image remove. I believe you need the ID. And it's gone. Alright. I'm going to remove all these other ones because I just don't care about them. Is there a dash all? No, there's not. Oh, Docker image prune. Docker image ls. Alright, so we have this one now. And I suppose when you create an image with the same tag as an image you've created before, it overwrites, which is good. Alright, so I believe we understand everything here. So we're installing we're cloning this image into our container, this node 16, and it's based off of Debian. Then we're declaring that our working directory inside this image is the user source app file. Then we're copying everything that has this regex, which is package something.json, is going to our working directory. Then we're going to run npm install after all that, which makes sense. All right. Note that rather than copying the entire, to bundle your app source code, use the copy. Is there a Docker ignore? Because copy ... is going to copy node modules as well. Docker ignore. There you go. Hey, there you go. It's just like git ignore. Docker has a Docker ignore, and we can just ignore node modules. And to be honest, in our image, we don't really care about anything that isn't source, right? So we can get rid of node modules, we can get rid of .git ignore, we can get rid of license, we can get rid of readme.md. Nope. Right? It doesn't really matter. We'll just exclude no modules. Alright, let's see how our chat's doing. Of course. Alright, no one. That's alright. So what are we exposing here? It's port 3000, so let's expose 3000. What does this command do? Last but not least, define the command to run your app using command, which defines your runtime. Alright, so command node, and it should be index.js, right? So run and command are different. So I guess the command defines the runtime, and run. This is a little subtle. Let's figure out what run means. Run has two forms, which is shell. Entering run. Oh, I'm all out of water. To use a different shell, unlike the shell form, exec form does not invoke. Alright, there can only be one command instruction in a Docker file. If you list, then only the last command will take effect. The main purpose of a command is to provide defaults for an executing container. So, command is for when the container is executing, but this, I suppose, is for running shell scripts to set things up inside the container. Okay. So we'll build again. Oh, they have a Docker ignore here. Yeah, and they just ignore node modules and something that they created. Build .-t, my username. Alright, so my username will be Alareta because that's what we use in Docker Hub. But for the moment, we'll just leave it as node web app or whatever we've been calling it. Or my Node.js app. So Docker image ls. Yeah, my Node.js app. So if we do Docker build, and when we were doing it before, we did dash, we put the tag as my Node.js app, and then we did the dot, but apparently this is saying it doesn't matter. There's the dot right here instead of afterwards. So let's build, let's see if it works. Alright, something happened, at least it finished. So we'll run this in detached mode since it's a server and it doesn't need interactive mode in order for it to run, and because we use 3000, why don't we figure out how to, let's map a random port to 3000 just to show how it works, because it should be in the container now. Well, when we run the container, it should be in the container. 3000 should be exposed, and this index is saying that we use 3000. So, alright, so let's do Docker run. So in the container, 3000 is being used in this server, and we've decided to expose it here so we can see it, so the container can actually project itself outside through only the port 3000. And in this command, we're going to redirect, we're going to map port 3000 from the Docker file, or from the Docker container, to the local host. we'll copy it 49.160. Docker run, and we'll map port 49.160 from 3000. We'll do in detached mode, so it's doing it in the background. And then what was it? My Node.js app. Okay. Should be running. So if we go to localhost, if we go to 80, we shouldn't get anything. And you see, default is 80, but if we go to 49.160, it's cached tutorial from the tutorial example container. It should, it's not working. Localhost 49.160 does not work. That should work. Localhost 49.160. Docker container ls. It's finished. So there's no container actually running. Port host should be localhost. I guess that's right at 3000. 80. App.listen port host. From node 16. Oh, we didn't do copy dot dot. Oh. All right. That was the whole reason we had the Docker ignore, right? Is so that when we copied everything from this directory, it ignores the node modules folder. So when we were running node index, there was no index to actually run because we didn't copy over index. All right, so let's build it again. Do Docker image ls, make sure. I think Docker, what image prune will, yes I do. Did that do anything? I got rid of one. See how there's two? Or something happened, I don't know. Anyway. We'll remove the second one later. So I guess it doesn't actually overwrite it, it takes its name and then it leaves it with no other name. Alright, build, we've already built. Let's run. $49,160 should now work. There we go. Alright. Finally. So we've got a server. It's on GitHub. Whoa. We gotta stage these and then it'll be on GitHub. So git status and then git add everything. Git status again. So now we got change to be committed. So then we can git commit. We have Dockerized server. Git push. Alright, so we have that. So we have it on GitHub now, our Dockerized Hello World server. And we have this. And we'll expose 3000. Docker ignore node modules. Wonderful, fantastic. Okay. Alright. So that works. Let's now push this Docker container or this Docker image onto Alareta, so onto the Docker hub. Alright, so we're done with this. Done with this. We'll get rid of that. So we'll go to hub.docker.com, I think. Alright. I want to delete this. No, I really don't care, at least for now. So, Docker container ls. So we have been running this for 2 minutes. Let's remove it for now. Docker container remove forcefully the ID. And now when we go to local host, what was it? 49,160 should be gone. Yeah, it's gone. All right. Docker container ls, there's nothing there. Server not found, beautiful. So Docker image ls, Docker image remove. We'll remove both these. So it seems that this image is being used by a container. What am I doing? Docker container ls. That container is gone. Let's go to Docker desktop, see what's going on. That container is still around. Yeah, this guy's exited. So if we remove it, I don't know why this is different than the remove that I did. Container ls, remove. Alright, it worked, so we didn't remove it all the way then, so. Docker image remove. Alright, so in order to actually be able to push this onto Docker Hub, we have to prepend this with our name, which is Alareta /. So Docker. So what was it? Docker build? Docker build -t Alareta /. We'll call this hello world server dot ls. Alright, Docker image -- help. So Docker image push. We want to push this. No, it needs to be the tag, not the ID. Okay. Alright, it's going. While it's doing that, I'm gonna get some water. Alright, so that should have worked. Yeah, we have a hello world server. Alright, so that worked. So we now have an image on Docker Hub. We have the source on GitHub. So this container, well, this image can be downloaded into a container anywhere on any OS, and it will just run. So long, and you can run it with our docker run commands, right? So you can either pull from it. So you can pull from it in a container, and then it's just there in the container, and then in your host, you can run it like this, and that's all you got to do. And you just decide which port to bind it to. So if you want to do it on a web server that actually binds to the web, to HTTPS www blah blah blah, then not HTTPS but HTTP, and you use port 80, right, like this. So it's already 9:52, so I think I'm gonna stop here. But I think next time I want to explore DigitalOcean and just upload this there and see how that works. Yeah, I think that's what I want to do. Let's just upload this to DigitalOcean and see how that's gonna play out. So yeah, it's a lot of work for just the hello world, right? You gotta make all this Docker stuff, you gotta make this Git stuff, you got all this boilerplate too. Well, it's not a lot, right? But if you know what you're doing, but you got all this boilerplate to go through in order to actually understand what you're doing, to containerize and version control. Well, to containerize the image to have some sort of executable that's easy to run anywhere, and version control with Git so you have source readily available anywhere. So yeah. Yeah, next time I'm gonna try to put this hello world on a free droplet. So, you know, if you go to DigitalOcean, you can, I don't even think I have what is it, a membership or an account here on DigitalOcean. So I really don't know. Like Docker and Git, I sort of had an idea from before. Docker had less of an idea than Git, but still I had somewhat of an idea. I've never used DigitalOcean, but I know that droplets are recommended. So I'm going to I'm gonna check it out. I'm gonna try to put this on DigitalOcean, see if it can be readily used. That'd be pretty neat. Yeah, and I don't think there was a single watcher. I doubt it. Let's check it out. But that's okay. I'm doing this to. Oh really? So that I can understand what I'm doing more. Really, if I can explain it, then surely I understand it, right? And it's good. I think when there are viewers, hopefully there will be interaction. I'll be able to help them, and they will be able to help me. Because I think it's gonna be cool to expand upon all this and to have user interaction and to be able to showcase what I'm doing, for sure. Alright, well that's gonna be it for today. It's almost 10. Time to go get ready for bed or something, or at least eat dinner. So, alright, I'm gonna end this stream. Great seeing ya. Thanks for dropping in and watching, even if it's just playback. Oh, that's something else I gotta figure out, how to make sure that this thing gets saved as a